So if I want to invest in AI, if I agree with you, Cathie, and I say, I think you're right, that AI is the biggest technological wave coming into shore and the biggest opportunity, how should I be investing my money in your view? How are you investing your money to capitalize on AI?
Many people used to invest in AI through one stock. That was NVIDIA. That was the check the box. I own the GPU, the chip manufacturer, which is the most important chip manufacturer in the AI age. And its valuation, meaning its price relative to earnings, really got up to very heady levels. And we were saying at the time, well, if NVIDIA's valuation is correct, there are going to be a lot of other winners. Who are they? Well, our largest position in the flagship strategy, ARKK, is Tesla. And as we were trying to help people understand why we were swapping away from NVIDIA to stocks like Tesla and Palantir, which is a software provider, we were trying to explain that this new world around AI is going to happen very quickly. And Tesla is the largest AI project on Earth. I posted that on X, and Elon liked it, so it must be true. But it is true if our research is correct. We believe that the entire ecosystem associated with autonomous taxi networks is going to be worth $8 to $10 trillion in terms of revenue generation in the next 5 to 10 years. And if you want to put that in context, the entire GDP of the world today is about 130 trillion. So 10 trillion is going to move the needle.
Tesla are launching their first cyber taxi, I believe, in Austin in June, potentially?
Yes. So the cyber cabs will launch next year, but in Austin in June, those will be Model Ys. And I'm looking to buy another Model Y because it will, in effect, be a cyber cab.
Okay.
And if I chose to, I could have my Model Y drive me to work and then let it out for the day and earn money on it, have it pick me up at the end of the night. And some people will do that. And Tesla will provide the platform for that.
I think a lot of people don't realize just how much of the economy is about driving.
Yes.
So taxis, deliveries,
yes.
all these kinds of things. It's a huge, is it the single, I think it's the single biggest employer in the world.
Yes,
driving.
Transportation,
right.
Broadly defined, yes. And it's not just on the ground, of course. As we've studied autonomous taxis moving forward, we believe the cost of transportation will come down fairly dramatically. So in the U.S. today, an Uber costs roughly $2 to $4 per mile. Mm-hmm. At scale, now this may not be for 5 to 10 years, but this is the direction that Tesla certainly is headed. We believe that Tesla will be able to offer a service for 25 cents per mile. And because of that, we think there will be much more congestion in the roads. When you cut the price of something, you get more of it.
Yeah.
And that led us into the air. And so we've been studying eVTOLs.
What's an eVTOL?
eVTOL is an electric vehicle takeoff and landing.
Like a drone type thing?
Drone, but for people.
Yeah.
So we own Archer in our portfolio. And of course, AI is a part of this new world as well. And it's a part of the defense world as well, as we are trying to save our soldiers and move out there with autonomous drones. So autonomous mobility on the ground, in the skies, ultimately on the water.
So Tesla.
So that's one big, we think that's going to be the biggest in the short term in terms of revenue generation, the biggest application of AI. We think the most profound application of AI is going to be in healthcare. Because of AI, and this is already beginning to happen, we are able to diagnose cancer with a blood test in stage 1. Think about that. If you discover cancer in stage 1, you can save most people.
Crazy.
Right. And maybe even before stage 1. Why? This is the convergence of sequencing technologies. So DNA, RNA, protein sequencing technologies. And then the third technology that is breakthrough and already making a difference is CRISPR gene editing. The convergence of those 3 technologies is beginning to cure disease. So a company called CRISPR Therapeutics, which is one of the largest in our ARKG fund and in the top 10 in our ARKK fund, has developed a therapy to cure sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia. Both of those are blood-related diseases, with one treatment. Think about that. Now, the preconditioning for that is gruesome. It involves, it's almost like chemotherapy, which is going to change. But nonetheless, there's huge demand for it because, these people go to the emergency room 10 to 20 times per year for blood transfusions to save their lives. Mm-hmm. Of course, they're going to go through a tough regimen. They want to live a more normal life. So it's already generating revenue. Both of those are already generating revenue for CRISPR Therapeutics and a company called Vertex.
So there's 3 or 4 different companies you've mentioned here. Tesla, the other one was Archer.
Archer is the eVTOL company, yes.
Which is your flying cars, basically your drone cars.
Yeah.
And CRISPR and Tesla. So if I start with Tesla, you were bullish on Tesla. You were making big predictions about Tesla before pretty much anyone else out there. I think in 2015. Mm-hmm. And at the time, in 2015, you said that you believed the stock would get above 4,000, roughly?
Right, on the old stock.
Yeah, before the stock split.
Yes.
And you were right by some significant margin. I think you predicted it would be 4,000 before the stock splits. And I think at its peak, that equates to about 18,000, maybe 12,000 at its peak.
Yes, well,
in that region.
We were right about 2 early years, or Tesla got to where we believed it would go 2 years before most expected. In 2018 and 19, many people, as Elon was discussing and describing production hell for the Model 3, many people thought the company would go bankrupt. And yet we knew that if Elon Musk could create a reusable rocket that could land on a barge in the water, he would be able to figure out how to produce at scale the Model 3. That was, to us, a simple conclusion. Now, as in hindsight, as we're learning from Tesla, production hell, and they themselves were worried. That's why Elon slept on the floor in the production factory and just became maniacally involved, which is how he works. So yes, and now our prediction, the stock is, I'm not going to be exactly right on this, $270, $280. Our prediction in 5 years is $2,600. And 90% of that valuation comes not from the electric vehicle, but from this robotaxi platform. Because the electric car, if you think about it, is a one-shot sale. Sell and hope they come back when they're replacing their car.
This essentially means that we'll be driving cars that we can click a button and then it becomes an autonomous taxi. So I go on holiday, I have my Tesla car at my house. When I go on holiday, the car turns into a taxi and starts chauffeuring people around. It makes me money. But also from the consumer's perspective that are trying to hail a taxi, at any point I can go on my Tesla app, press a button, a autonomous car comes to me with no one driving it, and it takes me to my destination with no driver at all.
Right.
And then the recurring revenue model, I believe, is you subscribe.
It probably could.
To the network?
Could be you could subscribe to the network, or they could, maybe it could be either or, subscription or a la carte if you don't think you're going to use it that much. So now, when I'm here in the UK and Europe, many people do not believe what you just said. And they don't because your regulators have not allowed FSD here. I think they might, somewhere in Europe, I think they're beginning to consider it. Maybe even in the UK here, they are considering it. In St. Petersburg, Florida, where we're based, I can go from my house to anywhere, and flawlessly, the car will take me there. Now, we still have to sit in the driver's seat for now, but in June or soon thereafter, when they turn the system on, if regulators permit, right now we're state by state, I think that's going to change so that we'll have federal regulation so that this can happen a lot faster. One other thing about Tesla, though, in that $2,600 number, we do not include much for humanoid robots. Now, this is happening faster than we thought. And the reason it's happening faster is humanoid robots. They are the convergence of the same three technologies or innovation platforms as robotaxis. Robots, robotics, so actuators and so forth, getting them to work. Energy storage, battery operated, and AI. So Tesla's way ahead of the game on humanoid robots, and yet we have very little. Now, Elon thinks that the humanoid robot business is going to dwarf the robotaxi business. And we think he's right, but longer term. So as I mentioned, we expect all in around the world, including China, not just Tesla, but the entire ecosystem, an $8 to $10 trillion market in the next 5 to 10 years. For humanoid robots, we expect a $26 trillion revenue market. Now, that's going to be a little further along. Robotaxis will happen faster, but it may not be as distant as we were once thinking.
For anyone that doesn't know, humanoid robots are basically robots that we'll have in our home and at work. So there was a video that I think Elon retweeted the other day showing one of the humanoid robots dancing.
Dancing, yes.
Was that real? I was like looking at that video thinking, surely that's not real. But he confirmed, I believe, that it was real.
Yes. Now, when we went to the Cybercab event, there were some humanoid robots dancing there, but they were tethered and they were remotely controlled.
Yeah.
Now, Cybercab, I think, was...
about a year ago.
Yes, maybe. So since then, they've been able to untether them. And I do believe that that dancing robot was not tethered and not remotely controlled.
It was quite shocking to see a robot doing that, because if a robot can have that dexterity and mobility, and then you overlay that with the AI technologies that are accelerating rapidly, it begs the question. And the question is quite clear, which is, what about humans?
Yes. And just to put a finer, note on this, Elon will not be satisfied until these robots can thread a needle. So that's where we're going.
What does that mean for humans?
So, the history of technology is that it has been a net job creator throughout history. But humanoid robots are getting awfully close to what we do, right? So it's a good question. I think creativity is a big part of that, ingenuity and creativity. And, I think there are going to be a lot of new inventions in the future. So let's see what those are. But even today, there's something called vibe coding. Have you heard of it? Okay. Because we've moved into the world of natural language programming.
What is vibe coding for someone that doesn't know?
Vibe coding means you know a natural language. I know we all know a natural language. Ours is English for the most part, but it could be any language. We're going to be able to go to ChatGPT, or especially now they just launched, I think last week, something called Codex, Replit, and Anthropic's fantastic for programming. and will say, this is what I'm attempting to do in English language. And I've seen demos of this just internally. We're going to replace some of our software that we're buying from outsiders and customize it for us because, we don't have to buy off the shelf anymore. One size fits all. I think there's going to be a lot more customization and personalization and creativity explosion here. It's interesting that this is happening when the demographic profile of the developed world is as it is. We have a very low unemployment rate in the US. I know the unemployment rates in Europe and the UK have been dropping to much lower levels than where they were stuck for years. I remember thinking, wow, double digits. We have a demographic issue. I mean, if you watch what Elon Musk worries about the most, he worries about the population implosion because collapse in population in the developed world because we're not producing children above the fertility rate. We are setting up for a shrinkage with China is going there, Japan is going there. And so we're going to need productivity to help us if we can't find human beings.
Okay, so you're saying that the robotics and AI could actually fill the gap that we lose in terms of productivity because our society is going to be like an inverted pyramid. It's going to be more elderly people and less young people.
Yes.
So the robots are going to...
Yes, absolutely. Productivity is going to be essential. So as we're looking at real growth ahead, and when you think about real growth, you should be thinking, okay, somebody's benefiting from this. And I'm going to set up the number here by describing what has happened historically. If you look from 1500 to 1900, and you try and figure out what real GDP growth was back then, real economic growth, as best as Brett Winton, our chief futurist, in consultation with academics, can determine, it was roughly 0.6% per year. And then we had the Industrial Revolution. We had the internal combustion engine, telephone, electricity. And for the past 125 years, real GDP growth has been 3%. And most living standards have gone up over time. Some more than others, I know that's a debate, but most have gone up. As we look forward, based on the 5 innovation platforms around which we have centered our research and investing, if we're right, real GDP growth in the next 5 years could accelerate to 7.3%. And that gives you a sense of the economic activity, wealth generation out there. And when we are presenting to investors, we are actually presenting to them not only because they're investors, but because they have children or grandchildren who need to adapt to this new world. And our mantra in giving away our research, which we do, is get on the right side of change. We also do podcasts. We do a lot of outreach because we think this is a very important moment in time. Seize the moment, grab hold of these new technologies, because that growth rate is more than twice where we've been. And if you are on the right side of change, we think the opportunities are going to be enormous. Investment opportunities and job opportunities.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.